Hi again. This is part 2 of what is wrong with me. Sorry, I got abruptly cut off before last time my son was calling me and I had to stop the video. So I think I was at the part that I was explaining exactly what dysautonomia is and how it makes me pass out or get sick. So right now, my neurologist has referred me to a specialist neurologist that I go see later this month, and they're going to try and see if there is any type of medication or something I could do. I've also seen a hematologist and had blood work done to see if maybe I need a blood thinner. It all comes back to my blood. It has to do with my blood pressure, whether my blood is too thick or too thin, et cetera, et cetera. And they're just trying to figure out what is wrong. Unfortunately, my neurologist told me that this is something that is very hard to treat, and they just, don't know enough about it to be able to, treat it efficiently. So, lucky me. So I'm just doing the best I can. I had applied for disability a year ago when I was getting so dizzy that I couldn't walk more than a minute. I said, I can't work, I can't do anything. And they had denied the first claim, and then I had the stroke, and I appealed it, and then they just approved the last one, thankfully. So I literally just started getting that this month, and that's going to help out a lot because my mom has paid my car payment and my insurance and my telephone, which are the 3 bills I have left down here for the last 3 months. So I had used some savings I had from up there, and then I went to school and took a couple online classes and had a little bit of financial aid last year, and had been able to get by until these last few months. So that's going to come in handy. I know I'm only 45, but I did pay into Social Security for 30 years. I've been working since I was a teenager, since I was 14. Actually, I had a job when I was 11 as a paper route, but as a working a retail, a restaurant type job, or anything like that. I started when I was 14, and I've always worked since then, except for when, I shouldn't say except for, when I went to school, I even worked part-time too, all when I was going through college. So I've paid into the Social Security system for 30 years, so I'm taking advantage of those benefits that I need right now because there's just nothing I can do. I physically cannot stand up for, like I said, a minute and a half, and then I can only sit up for about 2 to 3 hours, and it has to be in a particular type of chair. The chair has to be comfortable enough for me that I can stay in it for about 2 to 3 hours, and then I have to lay down. So unless I can find an employer that will allow me to lay down every 2 hours and not have to stand up at all, basically, that's the type of job I would need. And I don't know if you can think of any job that will allow you to do that, but I certainly can't, and neither can Social Security. So thankfully, they approved me. So right now, I'm just trying to find ways. It's been 6 months since I've been out of rehab, and even though there's been some improvement in some areas, like I said, from what and how the stroke affected me, there's a lot of other areas I still have the same exact symptoms that I had before I had the stroke. And so it's, been hard to deal with the fact that I can't barely do anything because of the eyes. I have macular edema in my eyes, and I had been getting shots, and they were getting better. And then when I had the stroke and went into the hospital, and then I couldn't go to the eye doctor for about 5 months because I just physically wasn't able to get to where his office was and walk and get in and have the shots done. So my eyes regressed back about 80%. So I've had 2 shots now since I've been able to get back in to the doctor, and so we got to go through the whole process again, though. So my eyes are still not, even if I wanted to. There's some things that I didn't like doing before I got sick, like knitting and crocheting. I don't like to do now. I did not inherit that gene from my family. My mother crochets, my aunt crochets, my cousin crochets, my grandmother was a fabulous crocheter, and I can't do that. But because of my eyes, I can't see really good enough to do anything that causes you to, have to be able to look at things really good. Like, I like putting puzzles together, but it's been hard for me to do that because I can't see the puzzle pieces clear enough to be able to put them together. So I'm trying to now find things that I can do that will occupy my time, because as you can imagine, it's pretty boring and pretty depressing just laying here for 90% of your day. I need to find things to occupy my time so I don't go crazy. And so starting this blog is one of those things that I had come up with doing, just documenting what I go through on a daily basis, telling you about my condition and just life in general. It's obviously, after I've told you about my condition, there's going to be days on here where I just might want to talk about something else that has nothing to do with that. Also, I love cooking. I haven't been able to cook in months, but I still look up recipes and get them, and I give them to my mom and my sister. So any recipes I put on here, I've already put a couple up. They're things that my mom and my sister more than likely made, but I've given them the recipe, or I've walked them through. I've told them how to make it, as they're actually physically doing it. So I'll include, things like that. And then I was a writer back when, I went to, my undergrad was in English, my master's was in teaching English, and I taught writing and tutored in English and writing and wrote a lot of poetry of my own. And so I'm sure that I'll be sharing some of that along the way as well. So just a little hodgepodge of things. But mostly it's all comes back to, how I'm affected by this condition of this pan-dysautonomia, and how it's limited my life, and, what I can do and what I can't do. So I'm just waiting to go to the doctor this month, see if there's anything else that they can do to get me feeling better. I've never wanted to be able to walk so much in my life. I would give anything to be able to walk and stand up normally. I would have never, I would have thought I would have died before something like this happened. When you're younger, you don't think, it just never crosses your mind, hey, one day I'm not going to be able to walk or stand normally. It doesn't happen. You don't think about that. So when it happens, it's a real mind fuck, basically. Because you're just not the same person that you used to be, even though you are the same person. You're still the same person, but you can't do and act and behave and all of that the way that you did before. And, it just completely disrupts your life. And it disrupts the lives of those, around you. My mom and my sister have to take care of me because I'm unable to do most things. My son has been affected. I can't just take him to the store, take him to the movies, or take him out to dinner, or, go play glow-in-the-dark putt-putt like we used to do. I can't do any of those things with him. So his life has been affected by my immobility. So we do have a wheelchair in order. My doctor prescribed a wheelchair for me because it we think would make it easier for me to get around the places right now that I can't go or don't go because of the seating issue, that I'm not sure I'm going to have a place to be able to sit. We think I'll be able to go to now for at least a limited time with a wheelchair. So I'm going to get this, and then we'll see, like if I can go, for instance, to go to my uncle's party today. If I would have had a wheelchair, then I could have went and they could have wheeled me up and I could have sat in the wheelchair. I would have had that place to sit to be able to visit with some friends and family. Also, I know there's a couple stores in town, Walmart and Giant Eagle, the grocery store, have scooters. So I think that if I get dropped off at the front, I can use my walker to get to the scooter and then sit down, and I think I can go through the grocery store for a little bit, that would be the only thing I could do all day long, because that's the other thing about this, is when I do something that is a task, it completely wears me out. And normally, my sister said, you normally sleep all day long the next day because it just completely has drained me. But I want to be able to go out and try and do those things and have some type of life. It's just no life laying. It's just surviving. It's not actually living if you're just laying here and you don't have anything to do. So if you have any questions about, I'm not an expert, but, if you're living with dysautonomia too, then, I understand what you're going through, and I hope that you'll get the proper medical care that you need, and that you'll have support from family and friends. And if you have any questions that I can't answer, please don't hesitate to ask me. And I hope everybody has a great night. Thanks so much. Bye.